My wife Avery went to sleep each night as a sane woman. Each morning she woke up possessed. Welcome to my life. There was no medical diagnosis for Avery's condition. If it were up to the healthcare system, she would have been committed. In a different time, she would have been burned at the stake. Simply put, my wife was normal, but sometime after midnight, each night she was possessed by a demon, and if not exorcised or restrained, she would run off into the night and hurt others and herself. Her family found out the hard way. Their little girl started running around the house and attacking them every night as soon as she could walk. God-fearing Midwesterners, they took her to a priest who exorcised her. Then again, and again. Avery was eventually given to the church, which exorcised her every morning. She saw her family during the day. She went to school. She won a state championship in fast-pitch softball. She got a degree and a job. She lived a relatively normal life every day until Pastor Pettis put her into the special-built padded room she called her bedroom every night, and then exorcised her at 6 a.m. each morning. I met Avery at the church. I had moved into town and was burnt out on years of chasing women around bars and waking up with hangovers and STDs. I found the local United Methodist and set out to meet a good partner. I'll spare you the meet cute. We fell in love. She sat me down once we got serious and explained the situation. We moved into the house next to the church, so it was easy for Pastor Pettis to exorcise her each morning. It wasn't exactly easy or normal, but it was a life, and we were happy. There was no long-term solution. We did our best to look into it. We also tried to have Pastor Pettis train me to exorcise, but I was never able. We needed to find a new plan at some point, but we were lucky he was exceptionally young for a pastor. We weren't lucky when a drunk driver swerved on the freeway and killed Pastor Pettis. It happened late at night, so we didn't even know anything was wrong until he didn't show up at 6 a.m. to exorcise Avery. I was stuck with my ravenously possessed wife in the padded room we built in our house, listening to her slam against the walls and speak in tongues. I coached myself up. I had tried hard with Pastor Pettis to get myself to be able to exorcise her before. I thought I had been close a few times. I went into her padded room with confidence. Avery locked eyes with me as soon as I opened the door. Her entire face went impossibly wide, and she screamed at me with a pitch so high I thought it might shatter my eardrums. I pulled the cross and vial of holy water out of my jacket, and she hissed as I approached the bed, where she was thankfully still lashed. She strained so hard I thought they were going to snap. I took out the holy water vial. Pastor Pettis always started out with a quick splash at Avery, catching her off guard before she could get her demonic rage to swell. The vial burst as soon as I held it near her, sending glass in my face, scratching my skin and drawing blood. I locked onto Avery's gaze. She was beyond far gone what I had ever seen her before. She screamed at me again in the wind on her breath, and the putrid smell knocked me backward. There was no way I was going to be able to pull it off that morning, or any morning. My life entered hell. I woke up, tried to exorcise Avery, failed, then had to go about my day. Every day. I reached out to every church in the state, looking for someone who could help. A handful of priests gave it a shot. All failed. I think Avery had been so used to being exorcised by the same person I feared Pastor Pettis was the only person who could. I also feared for Avery's health. She got weaker each time I tried. I watched her hair turn from brown to silver. Her teeth were rotted. Her breath was terrible. Even her blue eyes, which always reminded me of that line in Sweet Child O' Mine, as if they thought of rain, had faded to gray. A ray of hope broke through in the form of a phone call from a church in another state I had contacted. There was a legendary exorcist who was interested in the case. He was exceptionally private and equally exceptionally old, and he only had enough energy for one try. He was so private I wouldn't be told when exactly he was coming. He didn't want to fill the air of the house with nervous, anxious energy. Demons fed off that. All I knew was one night he would arrive. And then he arrived. I woke up to my doorbell. Just before sunrise, you could tell he had been a taller man, but he was hunched over and barely cleared me at 6 feet. He leaned on a cane and spoke with a thick accent. He immediately went into his one request to be set up upon his arrival: a strong cup of coffee, black, and a swimming pool. Filled, clean. He went to Avery's room and assessed her. He wasn't sure if she was salvageable, but he would try. He and I went to the above-ground pool I had installed. He took out his Bible and I watched him bless the entire pool for a good almost hour. Then we wheeled out Avery. I looked at her. I looked at the water in the pool. I looked at the fear on her face. I wasn't sure if it belonged to her or the demon. He could sense my hesitation. He pushed her into the pool. The horrible screams rang out immediately, followed by the burning smell. Then the smoke. I watched in agony as the water of the pool quickly turned to a putrid yellow and the liquid swirled. My instincts kicked in. I rushed for the pool. The man held me back with a strength that seemed impossible for his size and age. He held me an arm away from her just before. Avery burst up out of the water, her mouth wide open, her eyes wide and burning red. She got the jump on me before I could react. She grabbed me by the back of the head and stuck her face right into mine. Those red eyes paralyzed me and she pulled open my mouth. I felt the man grab me from behind and start to yank me away. He couldn't before she smashed a rough kiss into me. No, wait, it wasn't a kiss. I felt her teeth chomp down on my tongue. I felt my tongue get ripped to shreds before I fell backward and away from her. I felt my tongue in pieces in my mouth. When I hit the ground, the coppery taste of blood dominated my mouth. I could hear the man screaming out the type of religious commands at the pool and Avery that you would expect. They were scored the sound of the swirling pool in howls and growls and nasty screams. I gathered myself and watched as the man threw his hands at the pool, the water and the sound and smell and the smoke swelled. Then it died. The night was still. The only sounds I could hear were crickets in the distance, and the man desperately trying to catch his breath. He looked like he might collapse, but he held strong, and he was able to get out a few words, so quick and so accented I could barely understand, but I recognized them, and they were the sweetest words I had ever heard. Go to her. She is clear. I got to my feet, my mouth raging with pain, but it all went away when I got to the pool and I saw Avery, her head and shoulders above the murky waterline. The life had returned to her face. It was truly her for the first time in quite some time. The man said she was clear. He left as the sun rose without ever even giving me his name. I still had a deep fear that it would come back, but it didn't. Avery and I finally had a real true life together. Then we didn't. I woke up in the middle of the night. Something in the air put me on edge immediately. I was walking out the bedroom door when I saw Avery standing in the corner of the room, a blank expression on her face, her entire presence hollow. She didn't show any rage, but I could tell it was growing inside her. She started to shake and sob, but I'm sorry, it's coming back. I can tell I don't have much longer. Avery choked out the words. I'm going to go. I'm going to see if I can fix this. I can sense myself wanting to hurt you. One more blubbering plea from me started. It was answered by a high-pitched, hideous scream from Avery. Then her yelling with a deep and menacing voice. Do you want me to bite your tongue off again? She hurried out of the house with nothing but the nightgown she was wearing. No phone, no luggage, no shutting the door on her way out. She was gone like a ghost in the night. She left me with one thing which even all this time later still puts a pain in my gut when I think about it. A few days later I was emptying the trash bin in the bathroom when I saw something curious, a pregnancy test. A positive pregnancy test. Years have gone by. I have stayed alone. I've always imagined Avery would return one day. I picture that scene in Forrest Gump when Jenny appears outside his house in the night and comes back to him. It's never happened. What has happened is I recently saw something online which gave me hope. It was a Reddit thread in an occult sub. It was a man, desperate. His wife, who had been normal and functioning, suddenly had become possessed. It started slow and she would be bad in the morning. He could help her, but then she got bad again. Every day. Then I saw the worst thing anyone on Reddit can see when they see a thread which gives them hope. The account which posted the thread was deleted. I was ready to let it go, assume that Avery had some happiness, and then spiraled into the darkness which would be impossible for her to run from forever. Then one of the replies from the original poster plunged me right back into sadness, and one again. The deleted original poster mentioned they had a daughter who was also trying to solve the problem. He said she was trying to dig into her mom's past but had come up empty-handed so far. I now had hope again. I'm putting this out there specifically in hopes that she will see it. I want Avery and my daughter back.